the U.S. and China are in an era of what the former National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan called intense strategic competition. There's just nobody denies that anymore. But you need dialogue, you need engagement, you need to try to find some guardrails and maybe even areas where you can resolve differences, even if the overall strategic ties are tense. So in that sense, yes, it's very good. I think there are some big questions people will be watching in this negotiation. The AI diffusion rule was paused by the Trump administration. That's a very, very important thing for the national security community, for tech companies. Will that go by the wayside out of this negotiation? Will the limitations and export controls on U.S. and allied technology related to chips and so forth, will the spigot open up a bit to China? I think people don't know. American farmers, beef and soybeans especially, are going to want to know, are they going to get back into the China market? Will the massive inflationary impact of these tariffs on China ease for consumers in the U.S. and therefore for politics? Don't know. There are some real limiting factors too. I'm not sure Beijing really trusts President Trump to stick with a lasting agreement. And the last Trump administration, the agreement reached with China, I think most of the American side thought China didn't honor that. So there's a real trust deficit that will limit this. But yeah, the world is watching.
Yeah, and Michael, is it a good exercise to compare this round of a tariff negotiation to what we saw during the first Trump administration? Because one of the guests actually early on, Louis Gov from GovCall, was talking about how the fact that they are not meeting either in China or the United States, but had to pick somewhere neutral, that actually shows how much of a fallout there has been between these two countries.
Yeah, I was on the staff of President George W. Bush in the White House, and face matters, of course, a great deal to Chinese leaders, but Hu Jintao, when he was leader, was willing to, take some steps to make sure that there was reassurance, that there was progress in the relationship. Xi Jinping is completely different. Since coming to office over a decade ago, he has basically built China's own economic and national security strategy about competing with the U.S. I think China moved first in that regard, and he's much more conscious of face. And candidly, President Trump, as everyone says, is not predictable. So to go to the U.S. And not be sure how it will go is highly risky for Xi Jinping. The Chinese leadership does not like to be surprised. Hu Jintao was more forward-leaning, but we also were careful not to surprise him. So you're absolutely right. Geneva shows how little trust there is. One would assume that the follow-on meetings would be in China and the U.S. respectively, depending on how it goes.